Hi, and welcome back to the Power of Words and Language series. Today I'm going to talk about fight, flight, or freeze. It's fallen into such common usage nowadays that I think the point of these distinctions has been lost. So just to recap, and because I think there's a lot to add to this, we are commonly told, as if it is the truth, that our sympathetic nervous system's response to a stressful event, a fear, usually they'd say it's being charged by a saber-toothed tiger, and they liken it to that part of our instinct and brain that developed in history when we needed that response. And there's of course tons and tons of research around this, but it's become perceived wisdom that when our sympathetic nervous system is threatened or feels threatened, then we jump to one of these three responses. We either get ready to square up and fight, or we flee the situation, run away, or we freeze. But there's more relevant research to this, because this goes back a long, long time. And one of the things I recently heard pointed out on one of Brene Brown's podcasts is that all of that research was done on men, and a great deal of it on male animals. And that's not to say it isn't true, but it's primarily true of men. And so more recently, more research has been done that's found a couple of other responses that may resonate more fully with women. So to add to fight, flight, or freeze, we now have fawn, which I'll explain in a minute. And then I think a better one that relates to a typically feminine response, I mean feminine quality, not necessarily gender, which is befriend and tend, which relates to fawn in some way. So let me explain what that means, because we all know what fight, flight, or freeze means. So what does fawn mean? It means going towards the threat with mollifying behavior, praise, trying to subjugate yourself. So typically, this might be more akin to what some animals do in playing dead or in tending to the source of the threat. And this is also a typical response, but from the feminine. And so it is a thing to take into consideration when you consider your response to threat. And this is extended by more recent research to the words tend and befriend. So this is where the source of the threat is mollified by your attendance, by your attempting to get it on your side, to be good to it, to show it that you are not a threat. And again, this comes from the feminine. And so understanding that the perceived wisdom that your only sympathetic system responses to threat are fight, flight, or freeze is actually wrong, because there are a couple of more related responses that you may have, which you need to recognize in order to deal with them. And those may be fawn, or befriend, or tend. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important in as much as it may be that being aware of your typical stress response, your anxiety response, will help you recognize that you are in that sympathetic state. And awareness of being in that state is the first step towards trying to return your system, your nervous system, to a parasympathetic state. In other words, what recognizing those things might do is trigger an effort to calm down, to return to a parasympathetic state. And that can be done by all the methods we've often talked about: meditation, breathing, going out and doing something that involves your whatever your method of self-care or soul food is. And so it's very, very important to recognize your triggers towards a sympathetic response as quickly as possible, so that you can react as quickly as possible, catching it as early as possible to reduce the damage done by being in that state of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, tend and befriend, or any one of those. So I hope that helps, because there is power in these words, and the power is in the awareness they bring when you understand them and where they come from. Alrighty, I'd love to know what you think about that, and please comment. Please ask questions. I'm definitely not the source of all wisdom on these things. So I'm really trying to start a conversation rather than, just provide information. Alright, I hope you all have a lovely day.